was gone. It's like my skin was removed and it was just raw, like just emotionally. So I went through a pretty intense season.
For the next 6 months, Brian continued to struggle with panic attacks. He just wasn't able to get back to normal.
I was trying everything I could to do normal again. I went on hunting trips. I did everything that I love to do, and none of it was working. And I finally, you get so hammered, so broken down. You're just like, I can't think of hell being worse. You're in that kind of state. So I remember finally just quitting everything and just telling God, like, I just can't do this.
But a breakthrough was just around the corner. Brian and Jen took a trip to Napa, and while they were there, Brian couldn't sleep. He was having bad chest pains, so the Johnsons decided to leave.
On the drive home, she starts asking me questions, and I'm like, can't hardly breathe. I'm having another thing, and she's asking me questions, and she starts doing this thing where, like, God starts speaking to her different things about my life, and she's asking me questions, and by the way, I would answer, and she was like, I think you need to, like, forgive. I think you need to go after that thing. I think you need to. And so for 2.5 hours, I had like this inner healing session, stuff I had no idea about, right? Even though I was still feeling the same anxiety, it was the first time where I had like hope. Oh my gosh, I can get through this. And part of that drive, it's like the Holy Spirit like was really heavy on me in when I get home, I'm going to start getting up every morning and I'm going to read, and I'm going to read the Bible different. And I had this thought, how would you approach God and the Word if you were on a deserted island for the rest of your life and there was nobody else?
What Brian meant was that he was going to start reading the Bible from a relational perspective, not because he was a pastor, not because it was what he was supposed to do, but because he really wanted to have a deeper and a fuller relationship with Jesus.
Sometimes I'd read the same verse for an hour over and over because I wasn't in a rush. I would just focus. And what started happening, literally day one, what I read is exactly what I needed for that specific day. And then the next day would happen and I get up to read. And so it's like every day of this, it was like a new discovery. And in the meantime, it felt like, even though that stuff, anxiety was still there, it felt like I had enough strength to cope. It's like my head was above the water for the first time.
Brian still has struggled with anxiety, but now he knows he has to turn to Jesus in those moments of panic.
He holds my life together in every way. He is the answer for all of life's problems. There is a peace that passes all understanding. Like, that's a real thing. There's moments where, like, I feel so much peace and I have no idea why, but it's crazy. It's like euphoria. That is a real thing. And then, it all stems, and it's all connected to that word called worship, which is like surrender. And I think part of our surrender is just that knowing God is God and I'm not.
For we trust in our God, and through His unfailing love, we will not be shaken. We will not be shaken. We will not be shaken.
Today, Brian Johnson knows this. He can beat his anxiety attacks because of the saving power of Jesus Christ. And Jesus can give you hope in the middle of your worry, your fear, and your anxiety as well. It starts when you surrender your heart and your life to Him. And we can help you do just that. Learn more at findpeacewithgod.net. That's findpeacewithgod.net.
And in just a minute, Brian's going to share how he got inspiration for a song after running out of words to pray during a panic attack.
You're listening to GPS, God, People, Stories, a production of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association.
Historians will probably call this present era in the Western world that we're living in the age of anxiety.
Billy Graham.
This generation is dying not from external pressures, but from internal combustion. In other years, men feared death. Today, they seem to fear life. The Bible indicates that the Christian life is a life of conflict and warfare. God has never promised to remove our troubles, problems, and difficulties, but God has promised His peace, a sense of assurance and security in the midst of trouble and conflict. What we need to do is to get our eyes on Christ, idolize Him, worship Him. He will never fall nor fail. This gives life its balance, its security, and its peace. The truly happy Christian is the Christian who is fully and wholeheartedly committed to Christ, even though he may be in a prison cell. Be that kind of a follower of Christ. If you will do this, life will take on new meaning and zest, and you can say with Paul, "For me to live is Christ." His grace, His peace, His assurance, His security will be mine.
There's a lot to glean from that message, and you can hear it in its entirety at the Billy Graham audio archives. To get there, just go to billygrahamradio.org, then click on Billy Graham audio archives, and in the search window, search for Fear 1960. That's Fear, F-E-A-R, 1960.
Our guest on this episode of GPS has been Bethel Music's Brian Johnson. And as we mentioned earlier, Brian has co-written a handful of really popular worship songs over the past few years. So we asked him if he has a favorite.
I think my favorite songs probably are the song Forever and then the new one, Living Hope. The new one, Living Hope, is actually after that season, breakdown season, and I wrote it with a friend, Phil Wickham. The lyric goes, "In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night. Then through the darkness, your loving kindness tore through the shadows of my soul. The work is finished, the end is written, Jesus Christ, my living hope." That's that first verse.
In desperation, I turned to heaven and spoke your name into the night.
Sometimes that's all you can do is just put His name on your lips. And there were moments where, like, you're out of verbiage, you're out of words to pray. And all you have to do is say His name. And I remember sitting out by my field, by my house, I am at the end. I just don't even know what to do. And just saying His name over and over, and I'm here right now because of it. So I think that line in the song is pretty special to me personally.
It's a very special story that Brian has, and we are very grateful that he shared it with us, a very personal story regarding his own journey, along with sharing his music, too. We're very grateful, and you can read more about Brian's testimony in the book he wrote. It's called When God Becomes Real. Thanks for listening. I'm Jim Kirkland.
And I'm Phil Fleischman. We would love to hear from you with your thoughts, your comments, ideas about this podcast. And you can do that by sending us an email. Our address is gps@billygraham.org. That's gps@billygraham.org. GPS, God, People, Stories. It's an outreach of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. Always good news.
And now, death, where is your sting? Our resurrected King has overcome. He's overcome all.